Several recent local elections in the United States have been described by some media outlets as a nationwide referendum on Trump 2.0. The results indeed showed a sweeping victory for the Democrats. Their biggest win was taking back the governorship of Virginia from the Republicans, followed by a decisive victory in the New Jersey governor's race. They also triumphed in the closely watched New York City mayoral election, gained ground in several state legislature seats, and prevailed in California's referendum on redistricting, all outcomes that perfectly aligned with the Democratic camp's best-case scenario. However, overinterpreting these results would be dangerous and misleading. The key questions are, whose victory is this, really? And who will ultimately come out on top? Except for Virginia, which is a swing state, most of these states are solidly blue. Their dislike of Trump is nothing new. Trump's biggest warning sign is that his economic promises have failed to materialize. Ordinary people haven't felt any real improvement in their livelihoods. His rise to power relied heavily on appealing to those who saw themselves as victims of globalization, yet lately he has been overly focused on foreign affairs and the Nobel Peace Prize, facts that cannot be ignored. Still, American politics traditionally swings like a pendulum, balancing power between the president and the ruling party. The Trump 2.0 era marks complete Republican dominance, so it's natural for the pendulum to swing back. The Democrats' victory this time was actually a risky move. On one hand, they borrowed Trump's rhetoric about the economy and people's livelihoods, claiming that they could truly solve those problems. On the other hand, they adopted anti-capitalist prescriptions, favoring big government and welfare-oriented policies. If they push this too far, they risk going beyond what mainstream Americans are willing to accept within the bounds of capitalism. The new mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, is the perfect example. When Mamdani won the Democratic primary, I already analyzed the possible consequences. His campaign was built around one word: free public transportation. A rent freeze, universal free child care and education, and steep tax hikes on the wealthy so that ordinary people could afford to live decently again. It sounds idealistic, but the devil's in the details. Taxation is a state power, not a city one. Even rent control isn't fully within the mayor's authority. And wealthy New Yorkers can easily pack up and move to Republican-led red states to avoid higher taxes. When that happens, what will the poor actually gain? But this is an age of polarization. Trump has pushed the Republican Party to the MAGA extreme. The party's traditional mainstream, figures like the late former Vice President Dick Cheney or the Bush family, has already been sidelined. The Democrats now seem to be undergoing a similar transformation. The progressive left, represented by figures like Mamdani and AOC, has been emboldened by this round of victories. They're likely to intensify their challenge to the Democratic establishment in various states, hoping to emulate Trump's strategy of taking over and reshaping the party from within. So the question is, for the Democrats, especially looking ahead to the national election, is this trend a blessing or a curse? To defeat the MAGA-fied Republican Party under Trump's leadership, as we said after Kamala Harris's defeat last year, there are only a few options. Either the Democrats MAGA-fy themselves, copying Trump's populist economic agenda, or they out-extreme him, using far-left policies to offer alternative answers to the same problems, or they stick to the centrist path, hoping that some of Trump's supporters will return to the middle and choose the Democrats instead. Which route will be the most effective in the next election? It's too early to tell. The Democrats' bet is that someone like Mamdani can attract voters who supported Trump for economic reasons, without losing the party's base. After all, Even if mainstream Democrats aren't comfortable with democratic socialism, they despise Trump even more. They would reluctantly vote for anyone but Trump. But from Trump's perspective, opponents like Mamdani are the best kind, much easier targets than Biden or Harris. It's effortless to stoke public fear of the far-left agenda. Unless Mamdani can expand his youth and minority voter mobilization from New York to other states to counter MAGA's success in energizing older white men, the Democrats may struggle. The challenge is that Mamdani's base is already highly visible, whereas MAGA continues to awaken previously disengaged voters. So, this Democratic gamble could backfire. Some core supporters may start fearing utopian socialism. Moderate voters, faced with a choice between two extremes, MAGA or the far left, might simply stay home. Only one thing is certain: U.S. will become even more divided.